What's up, everyone, and welcome back to our Canada Challenge here in NHL 22. And today we are going to be continuing forward with. I gotta make sure the roster is loaded really quick because I think there was just a roster update. Okay, cool. I have my custom roster enabled. We are going to be diving into team number 2 today, and that is going to be the Winnipeg Jets. A team that I think, out of all of the teams that we're going to be used, is the most balanced, most ready to contend, not reliant like the Toronto Maple Leafs are on a certain group of players. I think Winnipeg has one of the deepest rosters in the league, the best all-around talent. They fixed a lot of their defensive issues that I had kind of thought, what is happening? I wanted to be Caps. There we go. They had a lot of issues with their defensemen, and I think that they have done a lot to address that over the last year or so. And we should continue. These budgets make no sense, by the way. And they should really be one of the top teams in the NHL this year. And they're actually the best, tied for the best team in the Central ratings wise. And that's another thing too, is playing in the West, it's going to be a lot less competitive, I think. Now, in our division, we have the Blues and the Avalanche, and the Blackhawks sim well in this game just because they have some of that higher end talent. But I'm not really worried about contending for a playoff spot. The Coyotes are awful. The Stars don't really simulate well in this game, and then Wild and Preds just tend to be inconsistent. So we should be in decent shape. So we're going to turn off owner mode. We are turning off player morale, turning off fog of war. And we're going to turn on auto staff management just because I don't really like to deal with it. And I think for the most part, it doesn't, like, hiring your own coach doesn't really ultimately impact the game a whole lot. And I think that's it. Okay. Let's go ahead. We'll continue. And go ahead and get started. I should have actually double checked through the rules and settings first, but we'll take a look at the roster really fast, and I'll show you guys what I want to set the lines as, at least to start the year, and then we'll do what we were doing before and cut back in kind of midpoint of the season / trade deadline time and get an idea for the kind of moves that we want to make going into the trade deadline to try and push ourselves over the top to be a Stanley Cup contender. It'd be really awesome if we could win one in year one. That would just be, like, incredible. But let's take a look at the roster. And we'll actually go by... Let's do contracts. Let's do it easier. That way we can get kind of a look. Actually, you know what? We'll just... Actually, well, the contracts will tell you the potential, too, so I won't have to look at it multiple times. So, we'll go organized by overall. We're going to talk about our forwards first. So, center, got Mark Scheifele. He is 28 years old, under contract for 3 more seasons, at a really fair cap number for a 90 overall center. And he's more of a playmaker, really good passing, really good shot, too. But he's just all around one of the best players in the NHL, I think. 90 overall doesn't say a whole, says a lot for itself. Not a whole lot of abilities he has. He has a good zone ability, he has snipe, and he has 3 superstar abilities, which are okay. They're not awful. Like, they're definitely good to have. And on our wing on the first line, Kyle Connor, one of the most underrated players in the league, I think. I don't really see a whole lot of people talking about this guy in the same breath as, like, the David Pastrnak and some of the other best, like, wingers in the league. But I think that he definitely is up there in terms of his point production the last 2 or 3 seasons, as his goal scoring as well. He's been close to 40. He would have been at 40 goals in a full season 2 years ago, and last year would have been closer to like 35 probably than 40, but still an extremely productive player early in his career. So he's very good, and he can still continue to grow potentially. Blake Wheeler, 35 years old, making $8 million a year. One of the more underrated also, I think, offensive players in the league the last few years. He's just been consistently at a point a game or above pretty much ever since this team moved from Atlanta. And I actually realized that he was only on the team for half a season before they moved. But on Boston, even he was still pretty productive. But since he's come to Winnipeg, he has just blossomed. He went from even here, made a jump from being like a solid second liner to just being one of the best point producers in the game in his 30s, which is not usually when you see that jump happen. So he's been kind of a late bloomer in a lot of ways. And he's under contract also for 3 years. So Kyle Connor's under contract for five more seasons. So that's awesome. Nikolai Ehlers still has room to grow. He's 25 years old. Really good passing, decent shot, great skater, but not a huge physical presence. And if this guy's your fourth best forward, you're in really good shape. He's still almost a point a game player. And even before this last season, he was like a really good second line type player. So I'm really happy to have him on the team. Second line center, we have actually Kopp, who I'll probably play on the wing. He's not the best offensive player, but really good face-offs, actually, and good physical presence, decent skating. I'm going to be honest, I'm not all that familiar with his production, but it looks like he's been somewhere between a good third-line player and productive second-line player, especially last season. So at 84 overall, definitely could do a lot worse. Pierre-Luc Dubois, acquired in the Patrick Laine trade from Columbus. This guy has been tearing it up. Well, all these guys in the real life have been tearing it up, but I have Pierre-Luc Dubois in my fantasy team, and he has just been like carrying my team so far. Not the greatest production ever since his second year. Well, I guess this year he would have been just about the same if not for COVID ending the season. But not his first year in Winnipeg, but we'll see if we can turn him around. He still has potential to grow as well. Power forward, good skating, really good shot. Great physical presence, not as good at faceoffs, so I might flip him and might put Kopp in the middle. And we also have to make a decision on Pierre-Luc Dubois after the season. He is interested in an extension, and his number is looking about 5.5 or five, a little about 5.5 million if we go over that 4-year threshold. And I think we can actually probably sign him for. If we sign him for 3 years, he's gonna. We'll deal with that in the offseason. I think. Well, we'll see as it goes. A little bit further down the roster, we got Adam Lowry, who's a really good two-way forward, also good faceoffs. This guy's gonna be our third line center, and actually a semi-decent shot as well. We got Paul Stasny, who I think has had kind of an underrated continued career with the Knights before last season. He was a point-a-game player almost. Winnipeg, he was very productive. The last couple years in St. Louis, he was a really solid second-line center. And then in Colorado, he was also playing pretty much the same role. Had a couple of really, really solid years. But other than that, he's been a solid second to high-end third-line player. So we're definitely going to take advantage of him. We got Jansen Harkins, who looks like a fourth-line forward right now. He's okay defensively. Good body checking, semi-decent shot. We got Riley Nash, who's been bouncing around the league for quite a few years. Solid, balanced fourth-line type player. In the NHL right now, we have Veskalinan, who's listed as a fourth-line sniper. And if he's already listed at fourth line, I might actually keep him up. I was going to send him down just because he's a 76, and he's 22 years old. He has low elite potential. I'm probably going to end up playing him in the AHL. We're going to see what kind of options we have. And then Brian Little, who I don't think have the contract that he has in real life. I think he gets paid a lot more than that, but I don't believe he's played in like 2 years. He played 7 games 2 seasons ago and hasn't really been doing a whole lot since then. Let's take a look at what we got in the system for prospects. We have a top 9 forward who's already a 77 overall. This guy I might bring up. I might actually play him. And other than that, we got Cole Perfetti, who was taken 10th overall in the 2020 draft. He's already got an NHL-ready shot, and he's a great passer. His defense is going to need a lot of work. Physical, not ever going to be like a huge physical presence, and he's an okay, not great skater, but he will play at least this year in the minors, and then he'll probably be ready for the NHL next year, even if he only jumps up about 4 overall. I'd be willing to play him in like a third line center who gets a lot of power play, who gets some power play time. And We got Gustafson, like I said. This guy, not a lot of forward prospects. We have Henry Nikkanen, I believe that's how you say that. Two-way forward, fourth round pick in 2019. Hard shot, decent, decent offensive skills. Okay defensively, actually, not too bad. Not a huge physical guy. We'll see if he's really going to need to get a lot of development in year one to end up becoming a really impactful player. He's already 20. If he's 21 at like a low 70, high 60 number, then you can kind of see him maybe becoming a little bit better. But as of right now, he's not somebody that I would consider a long-term future plan. All right, let's check out our defensemen. So, obviously, a very rebuilt defensive core. This is a team in a much better situation. Still probably not where you'd like to see them, but improving over last year. Top pairing, you're going to have Josh Morrissey. Well, actually, yeah, Josh Morrissey, one of the better offensive defensemen in the league. A really good shot, really good offensive awareness, great passing, great puck control. Defense actually has gotten a lot better in the last few years since he's been in the league. It looks like he's becoming one of the more balanced defenders in the NHL. And then point production, we got last few years 21-31. Maybe he just hasn't blossomed offensively the way I thought he had. I always remember this guy in older games like becoming like a really great point producer. I actually a couple times moved him to forward because of that. But signed for $6 million for quite a long time. I think that's like 7 years. So that's a good contract if he lives up to it. For a top four defenseman, I feel like that's really fair in this game. Neil Piank, the other on his right side, a little bit better point production from him actually, and he's listed as an offensive defenseman. Not as good of a shot, just as good pretty much everywhere else though. Defense is a little weaker. Skating's a little better, I think. I think Morrissey's only like actually it's not that much better. It's just slightly improved. Nate Schmidt we have in our top four. And he gets paid a little bit more than I'd like. He's making this amount of money for 4 seasons, and he's already 30 years old, so I'm expecting him to decline. So that might be somebody that we try and trade for someone with a similar kind of profile. And then his likely pair mate, line mate, whatever you want to call it, is going to be another former Capital. We got Brendan Dillon, who I actually think is a little bit better than his rating might suggest. I would think of him more as in the Nate Schmidt range of like 83, 84. He's more of a defensive defenseman, obviously. We ended up playing him with Piank, actually, because Nate Schmidt is also a two-way defender. So based on our chemistry, I might end up adjusting that. But it's probably going to work out better the other way because Piank does a superstar X factor. So those guys might actually end up being +5s together. But anyway, Dillon, like I said, more of a defensive defenseman. Not great offensive stats, but very strong defensive, very strong physical especially. He's probably our best defensive player on the entire roster. And then lower down, bottom 6, you got Dylan DeMilo, I believe is how you say his name. And again, defensive defenseman, nothing super great. And then you got Nathan Boyu, who is a solid player, not great offensively either. But that's your bottom 6. And then we also got Logan Stanley, who is listed as a minor top 4 defenseman. He's a huge dude. He is probably just going to be our scratch defenseman, to be honest. Although I did turn injuries off, so I guess we don't really need one. So I guess we'll probably just stash him down in the minors and see if he gets any better. But I don't think he's like really an NHL-ready player at this current time. He's already 23 years old with only top 6 potential, so it doesn't look like he's going to really develop into it either. Defense, we have actually really only have one prospect. We have Ville Heinola, who is still listed as a minor league top 2 defenseman, but he's 77 at age 20. He'll probably be on the big league club just next year. Two-way defender, not super polished offensively, but he could get better. Really good defensively though, and skating's really strong for a 20-year-old defenseman. I really like that. And it says he's a really good fit, so that's good. Sandberg, the only reason I'm looking at him is because he's already 22. Well, he's actually 22. I thought he was 20. Probably not going to turn into a whole lot. We don't really have a lot in way of prospects. It's kind of whatever's on the team right now. Goalies, same thing. But we do have Connor Hellebuck, who is like the second or third probably best goalie in the league. And he's signed for the next 3 seasons at $6 million. That's probably our window, is what I'm learning, given that most of our players are signed for the next 3 years. Do we have anybody who is not signed in that time frame, who is on the team right now, who's playing like a major role? Yeah. Organize it correctly. So Pierre Dubois is in need of an extension. Kopp is going to be a free agent, so that definitely is somebody I would like to get squared away. How much cap space we have next year? Doesn't say. I hate the way this game updated is so annoying. Let's do it this way, actually. We have 11.7. Okay, I just want to make sure I wouldn't change. We have about $12 million in cap space for next year, and that's with the fact that I want to trade Nate Schmidt's contract for a better contract. So I think that well, let's see who's the highest paid. Wheeler, Connor, Morrissey, Scheifele, Ehlers. Yeah, Schmidt is making almost $6 million at only 83 overall. So I'd really like to trade him, and if possible. So I'm going to look for that, like, closer to the deadline. And then Dylan, we might even be able to trade for somebody who's similar with a lower salary as well. So I'm going to go ahead and set the lines real quick, and then I will be back to show you what we're rolling with into the first half of the season. All right, we are back with our lines going into year one. I did make a couple of minor changes. I brought up Gustafsson from the AHL, and then Veskalinan is actually playing on the third line right now. We're going to try this out with him playing with Paul Stasny, who's a playmaker, and he's a sniper. Got a solid enough shot, might be able to make it work. We'll see how it goes early on in the season. Didn't really have a whole lot of better depth options for that third line spot, so that's probably going to be something that we look to address going into the trade deadline. I had to actually fire my coach and name one of the associate coaches as an interim head coach because he was a much better line fit. We had a situation on the power play where I could not get it above -3 for any of the lines other than the top line normal power play, because my coach had the original coach had some ridiculous carry dump bias, so everybody was getting minus. I went to defense and I set it up this way, and I think we're going to keep it this way. I just want to see. Yeah, okay, we're going to do that. But the original way that I had it, all these guys had -2 no matter what I put them. And it was -3 with Morrissey and Piank together. Nate Schmidt and Morrissey was a -1. And then Dylan and Piank was a -2. And then these guys were a -3. So I went in and I looked and I was we have other coaches that are going to be better for what's going on. I usually let the computer manage all that, but we just needed to make that kind of change. So now let's go back into our main line. We got Connor, Scheifele, Wheeler as our top line. Second line, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Andrew Kopp, Nikolai Ehlers. Third line, Adam Lowry, Paul Stasny, and then Christian Veskalinan. And then third line, Riley Nash, David Gustafsson, and Jansen Harkins. On defense, we got Josh Morrissey and Nate Schmidt on the top pairing. And then Dylan and Piank on our second pair. I actually want to check real quick how these guys pair up together. It's a +1. Get a +1 for both lines. We're going to do that instead. We're going to go ahead and flip them. Put Morrissey on the left, just because Piank's a little bit better offensively, and so I'd rather him getting those top line ice minutes, and Morrissey can get second pairing, and he'll have second pair power play as well. I would like to play them together, but I think the +1 for everyone is a little bit better than the neutral. Power play line, top line, Ehlers, Scheifele, Wheeler, Connor, Piank, just stacking at 5 best forwards. And then our second line is still pretty solid. We got Stasny, Andrew Kopp, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Josh Morrissey, and Nate Schmidt. So we're running 2 defensemen on that second pairing. 4-man power play. Not ever really going to matter, but just showing you so that you can see. And this is just the only way that this isn't minus, was to have these guys together. So Kopp is off. Penalty kill, we got Kopp, Lowry, Dylan, Morrissey. And then second pairing, we got Gustafsson, Riley, Nash, Nate Schmidt, and Piank. A little bit weak on the second pair power play just because our fourth line kind of guys and bottom third line guys aren't probably as good as we'd like. But if I put because I put these guys here, if I put, instead of putting Riley Nash, if I put Pierre-Luc Dubois, I believe our chemistry went into the negative. Actually, it's the same, so I'm going to do that. Same reason I have Piank on here. I don't want any of our top 6 or bottom pairing defensemen on the penalty kill, just because I'd rather have Piank out there just because he's a better defensive defenseman than either of them. And then 3-man PK, Not that it's ever really going to matter, but we have Lowry, Gustafson. That's the only way that both lines aren't minus is to have Gustafson in there. I don't know. I don't understand why. Extra attacker, Scheifele, Connor. Goalies, Hellebuck and Comrie. And then we don't have anybody scratch. Oh, I forgot to go over the, I guess there's 4-on-4s. But keeping Scheifele and Connor together. And then there's no chemistry here. So you can just take a quick look at what we got set up. And that's that. All right, with that said, we're going to go ahead and start the simulation. So I will cut back when we are about halfway through the season and check up where we're at. All right, we are at the mid-season point of year one, and as of right now, we are actually sitting atop of the Pacific Division, not by a whole wide margin. It's pretty tight there for the top 5 teams. We'll take a look really quick at the standings and the team stats so far on in the season. So we'll take a look first at our own division. We are 31, 18, and 2, so we have the most wins. And we have the most row out of the division with a couple games in hand over second place Chicago. Minnesota, though, could absolutely catch us. They have 3 games in hand. St. Louis is only 2 games behind, so they're kind of a threat to close some of the gap right there. It does concern me a little bit that we've taken a lot of regulation losses. That could potentially come back to bite us with Chicago on our trail with those 8 overtime losses. And Minnesota even has more of the overtime losses so far, but they have the same amount of regulation losses as well. So even in the sense of we were trying to even them out to our record, in those 3 games that we have in hand, or those 3 games that they have in hand, if they only had 2 overtime losses, they would have 28 regulation wins, so they would be 28, 18, and 2, kind of evening it out to our record. Colorado is kind of the surprise. I thought they would be a lot better. I expect them to be a much better team in the second half of the season. We'll take a look at the league and go to just entire league, and we are 4th overall. So we are the weakest division leader. The Montreal Canadiens are on top in the Atlantic Division, kind of surprisingly. We got Anaheim in the lead in the Pacific, and we are 4th. Washington is just ahead of us with 66 points so far. They've taken more of those regulation or overtime losses. So we are 4th in points percentage so far. Goals for per game. We are just outside of the top 10. It looks like a Buffalo up there sitting in a playoff spot as well. We'll go division by division soon. But we are, top 10 in goals for. And then goals against, we are definitely not at the bottom. And we are about top 10 is there. So we're a top 10 team. A little bit maybe outperforming that in general power play. And we are almost top 5. We're borderline top 5 power play. So that's great to see. And then our penalty kill looks horrible. Oh my god, that might be... Yeah, we're a bottom 3 penalty kill, so we might have to reassess that and just switch around some of the players. Home and away, we're pretty even. And scored 8 shorthanded goals, though, so I guess that penalty kill is good at scoring. But that's something I definitely need to address going into the second half stretch run. Take a look at player stats as well. For our team, Scheifele's been leading the way. He's over a point a game, as well as Blake Wheeler, who's leading our team in goals, 55 points. The kind of disappointing player so far has been Kyle Connor, who's second highest rated forward on our team, but he's 5th in scoring right now. We got Nikolai Ehlers at almost a point a game, so maybe we move him up to the top line and put Kyle Connor on the second line wing. We got Pierre-Luc Dubois with 39 points, and Kopp at 30, so he's been slightly worse than the rest of these guys by a little bit. Adam Lowry, 14 goals, 25 points overall. And Stasny was 25 points on the season. Veskalinan, I thought he'd be a little bit better. I thought he'd be in that 20-point range so far. But he's actually been semi-solid. For somebody who's only getting 10 minutes of ice time to have 15 points, it's not too bad. And I would probably like to add somebody a little bit better to that third-line wing spot if we have that option going into the trade deadline. I also think we need to switch up our 4th line. I would like to keep Gustafson, Harkins, and Nash less so. Harkins actually really isn't even as good defensively as I thought he was. He only has 83 defensive awareness and 85 stick check, as well as 77 shot block. So Riley Nash is a better defensive player. So if we can improve over Harkins, if we can improve both, that would be great. I'm probably going to keep Gustafson there just because he has been... he's one of the few young players that we have with a chance to develop, and he is really solid defensively with good face-offs. So I would like to keep him. Defensive-wise, we got Piank at 32 points. We got Schmidt at 28 and Morrissey at 23. So everybody's kind of playing as expected. Boyu's been kind of a surprise. I think he's only getting about 10 minutes of ice time. and he's got 12 points on the season. And DeMilo, I think the same way, about 12 minutes. Brendan Dillon with 10 goals, 20 minutes, playing about 20 minutes a game. He's playing a lot of penalty kill. Piank is probably going to be about 25, and Schmidt is about 25 as well. So really good production out of our defenseman. Morrissey's only shooting about 3.4%, so we could actually even get better production out of him down that 5-6 range. Schmidt might fall off a little bit just because he's at around 10 for a defenseman, which is very unlikely to sustain. And then Hellebuck playing okay, could be a little bit better. Our backup goaltender Eric Comrie is struggling though at this point. He has a 500 record in decisions and is under 900 save percentage. So if we can get a slightly better backup goalie, maybe like an 82 or an 83, wouldn't be too bad of a move. But unlike the Toronto the franchise, we're going to actually make our moves at the trade deadline because I think it makes everything a little bit more exciting, and it also makes it more fair with the rest of the teams because a lot of these teams don't make trades outside of that trade deadline period. So we're going to go ahead and sim up to the trade deadline right now. Hopefully we can sit still in a playoff spot by then, sit in the good position we are coming off the Olympic break. But I'm going to cut out and we will cut back in at the trade deadline time. All right, we are getting ready to jump into the trade deadline right now. So we got Morgan Riley on the trade block. Looks like the Leafs aren't going to extend him. Mika Zibanejad, Johnny Gaudreau, David Perron, Darcy Kemper is on the trade block for the Colorado Avalanche. So things not working out in Colorado the way that they thought they would. We're going to see if there's anybody here who kind of has lower trade value than expected. And my immediate target so far seems to be Ryan Strome, as I still have it set to top 10 players. Ryan Strome is my early favorite because I think he's a little bit lower value than I would have expected. And it looks like he's already been traded. So, oh, no, I thought that was them trading Ryan Strome. All right, so also got some goalies down here with a little bit lower trade value. We got Duncan Keith. And Sorokin. Well, he's under a bigger contract than I would like, though. He's got that 4-year contract, or the 3-year contract for $4 million. I don't know why it says that we have Adam Lowry on the trade block. That is definitely not who I thought we should. So Johnny Gaudreau has been traded to the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for Mason Matavish. We could get Jesse Puljujarvi. He's a power forward, not necessarily a sniper. He's got that low elite potential as well. So what if we looked at some sort of trade for him? Stop doing this. I've already gone through this like multiple times. They interested in any of the kind of guys that we have? They like Nikkanen, but I don't think just that is going to be enough to make this work. And why does he have retained salary? Why does he have retained salary? I didn't ask them to retain any salary. Why does he have retained salary? What is happening? Games just kind of messed me up right there. I want to try and get Strome first, though. Puljujarvi can be kind of our backup plan. If we can make the splash for Strome, I think that actually... He might even play on the second line, and we can push Kopp down to the third. And, of course, I'm getting cock-blocked by the CPU. So now we got to find Strome again, if he's even still there. Alright, so we can definitely make a move for Strome. I'm really comfortable doing that. Are they interested in any of the skaters that we have? They're actually interested in quite a few guys. They would take Veskalinan. That would be a pretty good one-for-one swap, I think, if we made that work. What about draft picks? We don't really have that many draft picks, actually. We traded both our seconds for Brendan Dillon, so that kind of hurts us in that sense. And this probably isn't going to be enough to get it done, but we'll at least throw it out there. And we'll see if we throw in Columbus's third, if we can make this work. I'm all for throwing away draft picks. You saw from the Toronto series. And that's it. All right, so we got Ryan Strome a lot easier than I expected to be able to acquire him. So that really solidifies that third line. If we add Adam Lowry and Now we have Cop on the wing down there. That's really good. So, is there anybody else we'd be interested in adding? Kind of as a lower end player, like a bottom six kind of addition that we can get for pretty much nothing. We can actually get Eric Gustafson, who is a offensive defenseman. Would like to get a backup goalie, but I don't think that's going to happen. Just because I think, all right, Buffalo made a trade. They are trading Jack Quinn for Zingle. I don't really know who that is, actually. I think goalie-wise, they might just end up sticking with Comrie as our backup for now. Just because not a lot of these options are really that much better. Maybe if we can, like, swap them for somebody slightly improved, but I'd rather take it kind of into the offseason. Nick Paul's a power forward. All right, Colorado Avalanche have traded Nazem Kadri and Eric Johnson to the Vancouver Canucks, so that's one less kind of scarier team in our division. That's good. I still want to try and make a move for Puljujärvi. I don't think that I don't think we have the assets to do it now, because they weren't really interested in that many players that we have to begin with. They are interested in Nikkanen, though. What if we can... why is it doing this? I don't want you to retain any of his salary. Alright, so we traded Nikkanen for Jesse Puljujärvi with that low elite potential. He's got a definite spot on our team. And goalie. Malcolm Subban is 28. He's got starter potential. Mikko Koskinen, we probably could have gotten him in that trade, to be honest. Without adding too much salary. And the Dallas Stars traded Ryan Suter to the Anaheim Ducks, so Anaheim making a big push out there in the West. Kind of surprisingly on top so far. I want to try... What if we can get Antti Ranta? If we can get him for Eric Comrie. If they're interested anyway. Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be interested in him. That's kind of the problem. But we'll at least see if we can make something work with one of these kind of lower-end goalies. How's he been playing this year? He hasn't played at all. A lot of these guys haven't played at all, actually. And the Ottawa Senators, looks like they've traded Connor Brown in exchange for Antti Ranta. Okay, so he's off the table now. And well, he's Scott Wedgwood, maybe. I don't think these guys are that much of an improvement over Comrie. We might just hope that Comrie plays better during the second half. All right, with that said, we made our trades. We're going to back out. We still have our first-round pick. There's nobody really worth trading our first-round pick for anyway. So yeah, Johnny Gaudreau got traded to the Anaheim Ducks. Jordan Martinook. He does have 3 years left, so I probably won't claim him. All right. If he was a little bit better, I might think about it. Is there any way to see like the transaction log in this game, like you can in Madden? There should be. I would imagine so. Probably right here. There we go. So Chris Drieger was traded to Buffalo for a couple pick swaps. They swapped a second for a third next year, and they got a fourth. Ottawa traded for Nikita Zaitsev from Colorado. The Vegas Golden Knights traded for Kyle Clifford from St. Louis. I think it's the right stick, actually. Chicago traded with San Jose to acquire Bodine. I don't know how much better that makes their team. Chris Tierney is headed to Nashville. Radek is headed to Edmonton. Kind of a surprise after they were trading off some pieces. Pittsburgh got Valerie Nichushkin and Ryan Murray from Colorado. Kyler Yamamoto is heading to the Oilers. Carolina got Connor Brown and Tyler Ennis in exchange for Antti Ranta in a second. Ryan Suter, Puljujärvi. We already knew these. Kadri, Jack Quinn. David Perron's headed to Columbus. Missed that one. Cole Sillinger. Jared Burakovsky was traded. Columbus got Phil Kessel in exchange for Chicago's first-round pick from the Seth Jones trade. And that looks like it's pretty much it. All right, so with that said, we have to set our lines. So I'm going to go do that real quick and then pop back in, and then we'll be just simulating right up to the end of the season. All right, so we have set our lines with roughly 20 games left to go. This is what we're going to be rolling with for the stretch run. We got Ehlers, Scheifele, Wheeler. Second line, Kyle Connor, Ryan Strome, Pierre-Luc Dubois. Third line, we're going Stasny, Cup, and Puljujärvi. So that is going to push Adam Lowry down to the fourth line, where he is going to be winged with David Gustafsson and Riley Nash, which is our best lineup for now, I think, on offense. Defense, we got Nate Schmidt, Neil Piank as our top pairing. Brendan Dillon, Josh Morrissey, number 2. Boyu and DeMilo still as our third pair. And then our top power play, we got Ehlers, Scheifele, Wheeler, Piank, Connor as our top. And then our second, we're going to go with Dubois, Strome, Stasny, Puljujärvi. And we're keeping Josh Morrissey over Nate Schmidt just for now. I'm actually going to flip these two as well. So we'll see how our power play plays over the last course of the season. And then on the penalty kill, we're going with Lowry, Dubois, Morrissey, Dillon as our top pairing. And then second pair, we're going Kopp, Puljujärvi, Schmidt, and Piank. So hopefully that gives us a little bit better of a chance going down the stretch. I think we are a lot scarier on offense, and we are already a really good offense. But this also improves us immensely on defense with those additions that we made. So again, we are going to sim up until the end of the regular season. We'll come back. I think we're still on top in the... Actually, we're in second place behind the Blackhawks in the Central. So it'll be an interesting stretch run. We'll see if we are able to hold on to a playoff spot. All right, we are here at the end of the NHL regular season, and we did have a little bit of a backslide at the end. So we ended up in third place, I believe, in the division, and we are taking on the second place Nashville Predators in the first round. As you can kind of see from the little bit right there, our last month was pretty brutal. I think we're going to go back to the top line that we had beforehand, but we'll take a look at the team stats real quick. We ended up in third place. We were actually tied, but we had lesser row than the Predators, and like I said, that lack of overtime losses is really what ended up kind of biting us, because we actually had more wins than the Predators, but they had 7 overtime losses. So even though they had 2 less wins, the points ended up evening out with those 4 extra overtime losses. And then Chicago won the division by like 15 points, even though they only had 3 more total wins because they had 11 overtime losses. So not great, but that is, kind of how it goes. Just quickly taking a look around at the other divisions. So in the Atlantic, you got Montreal, Tampa, and Boston. Detroit missed out despite having 92 points. So the West was pretty weak this year. And Toronto and Florida both out as well. This is a tough division. And then looking at the Met, you got Washington, Carolina, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, and the Flyers. So Rangers, Islanders miss out. And then Pacific-wise, Anaheim won the division. Kings and Kraken, with the Vegas Golden Knights missing out on the playoffs. Even though they had the same amount of points, they had less wins by 1. So the Kraken make it in their first year. We'll see if they can make some sort of Cinderella run. Probably the biggest surprise on here, though, is the Oilers and Flames last place teams. Obviously, Anaheim winning 50 games is incredible. But taking a look at our performance and how it stacks up with the entire league, we'll take a look at goals for. And we really fell off as the season went on. I thought those trades would help out our offense, but we went from being like a top 10 offense to more middle of the pack, actually probably toward the bottom half of the league. Our goals against, however, is still borderline elite level. It's not under 3, and we're actually, well, we're a little bit toward the middle of the list, but we're probably between the 10 to 15 range. So not as good as I expected to be. Our power play really fell off in the second half. I think we ended up being a bottom 10 power play team, although the bottom, 4 of the bottom power plays in the league ended up making the playoffs. So bottom third, roughly, kind of middle of the pack. And then penalty kill. We ended up improving our penalty kill as the season went on, but we still finished with a penalty kill below 80%. So we had a power play under 20 and a penalty kill below 80, or around 80, I guess, almost exactly. So not a super great special teams combination. And like I said, end of the season we kind of fell off. Weren't a great road team either. But we are jumping in. Well, I forgot to do regular season stats, player stats. So Shifley almost hits 100 points. Wheeler ends up with 85. Ehlers, I guess, did not respond very well to the top line pairing. Um, Kyle Connor ends up with 61 points. Pierre-Luc Dubois doesn't finish the season off the strongest. Cop ends up, I think, like third on the team in goals. Piank, Puljujärvi finishes strong. Stasny, Strome at a minus 15. That's kind of brutal. Schmidt, Morrissey end up finishing solid. Brendan Dillon finishes with 22 points. Adam Lowry with 33. And I think our bottom pairing ended up, our fourth line ended up playing a little bit better by the end of the season. Although it looks like Lowry wasn't super great either. And then a lot of these power play points, it's mostly from our top pair. Outside of, I don't see Piank. Oh, he only has 7, so that's kind of interesting. But kind of carried by our top line, kind of like I expected. We're going to switch Connor back to the top line because he finished off the season really strong. And I think Ehlers did not necessarily do the same. And then we'll check our goaltending real quick. And Hellebuck has a really down year. Comrie kind of turned it around, but only a 910 save percentage and a 301 goals against. So I expected a lot better out of Hellebuck. I thought he would be an elite goalie like his ratings kind of reflect. So it's a little disappointing to see. And then we'll check our AHL team really quick. Ville Heinola finishes with the most points on the team as a defenseman, which is awesome. We got Cole Perfetti putting up 63 points, and then Evgeny Sveshnikov finishes with 64 as well. A couple of some depth guys down here, but nothing really. We got he doesn't have really any potential either. Logan Stanley only has 35 points, not super surprising. And I don't think we have any real like goaltending prospects. So we are going to jump in, same rules as before. With the, we'll see. Our minor league team is in the playoffs. Who are we? The Manitoba Moose. I don't even think we made it. Yeah, it doesn't look like we made it. All right, so we'll jump back into the NHL. So we are taking on the Nashville Predators. One thing I did not do super great job of in the last series or in the last team was showing the opposite team's lines. So I want to try and do that a little bit more actively in this series or in this team. So we'll go to view lines and looking at Nashville. One of the more boring rosters in the league, just not super exciting. We got Philip Forsberg's really good, but then the other two players on our top line are JT Miller and Colton Sissons. They must have traded for him at the trade deadline. Second line, Eeli Tolvanen, Mikael Granlund, and Luke Kunin. And then third line, Rocco Grimaldi, Ryan Johansson, and Matt Duchene. Patrick Marleau, they signed from free agency. They also got Chris Tierney and Nick Cousins. So they made a lot of moves to improve their forward core. Roman Josi and Dante Fabro are their top pairing. Matthias Ekholm and Philippe Myers, second pairing, and then Mark Borowiecki and Matt Benning. And then in goal, they have one of the 5 best goalies in the league, in my opinion, Jussi Saros. So, should be a really solid team, and this is a pretty even matchup. I think we're a little bit better, especially in our forward core. The defense is pretty even, and then goaltending, we have a pretty decent advantage going 6 up. So, just like in overall. So, just like during the last series, our ground rules for the playoffs are the same. We can jump in after game 4 at any point within the last 5 minutes of regulation or overtime. So game 1 on the road, first period, Kopp scores the first goal. Nashville stays off the board. Second period, Winnipeg up 2-0. Ryan Strome buries one on Saros. Nashville 24 shots on goal. They have a power play to start the period off, but they do not convert. Winnipeg not getting a whole lot of shots on net, but they are converting. Nashville is still being kept off the board, 32 shots now, 5 minutes left in the third period, and it looks like power play, they kill it off. Winnipeg with a strong opening game statement. They get outshot by almost 2-1 by Nashville, but Connor Hellebuck stands on his head, and on the road, the Winnipeg Jets open up this playoff series, taking their first win of the series. All right, now let's go ahead and I'm going to back out of this menu. I like the main menu for doing the playoffs a little bit more. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump into game 2. First period. Nashville bouncing back with a 2-0 lead. They got Roman Josi and Luke Kunin scoring a shorthanded goal, so a statement in the first period. Still continuing the shutout into the second. We'll see if Winnipeg can respond. They're getting more shots on net this game, but haven't been able to bury anything yet. And staying off the board through about halfway into the third period. 7 left. 5. And can't get anything going as Winnipeg's offense is shut out in game 2. And this is going to be a back and forth series. 4 total goals after 2 games by both of these teams. And Nashville responds to being shut out with a shutout of their own. And so heading back to the Prairie Land, it is 1-1 tie between these two Central Division rivals. Looking around the league, Caps are up 3-0 on the Penguins. And Philadelphia opens a 2-1 lead over the Montreal Canadiens. The other 2 series are tied. Anaheim, the top seed in the West, is down to the Dallas Stars, 2-1 so far. And somewhat surprisingly, Colorado sneaking in at the 5 seed, the bottom team in the playoff. I guess they were the bottom. The Chicago was actually the top seed, but Chicago down 3-0. We'll see if they can become only the 3rd team to perform a reverse sweep in NHL history. We're jumping into game 3, Winnipeg, Nashville. Back in Winnipeg. After the first period, Nashville is up 4-0. 2 goals from Patrick Marleau. They got 1 from Granlund and 1 from Kunin. And after 2, this game is pretty much over. 10-3 being the final. Comrie ends up coming into the game. And that's a game to forget if you are a Winnipeg fan. That is absolutely embarrassing. So now down 2-1. Now this team has to hope that they can take the second home game before going back on the road to Nashville. We'll see how this team responds. They had a strong opening win, but have not been able to muster up a whole lot since then. After the first period, tied at 0. Winnipeg comes back in the second period with 3 goals, 2 from Ryan Strome and 1 on the power play from Pierre Dubois, 1 from the circle and 2 from right up close. We'll see if this team can hold on to the 3-0 lead and even this series up. Nashville is struggling this game. They do get a power play, but they only have 17 shots here roughly halfway through the third period. So they haven't been able to generate a whole lot of offense so far. And we'll see if Winnipeg can hold on to a 3-goal lead. And DeMilo adds 1 just for security. Forsberg does come back to break the shutout. Wheeler comes back the other way and buries 1 from right in front. And Winnipeg responds in dominant fashion with coming close to another shutout. Connor Hellebuyck has played relatively well so far this series outside of that 1 game, allowing totals of 0, 2, and 1 goals so far. We'll see what his total save percentage is. That 1 game is probably going to skew it quite a bit. But this game is tied, or this series is tied, I should say, going into Nashville. We'll see if they can gain an advantage. Yeah, the 933 save percentage. And it looks like most of those goals, I think Hellebuyck was pulled after 4, so most of them were allowed by Comrie, and he actually ends up taking the loss. I think... I'm not sure why he ends up taking the loss. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but I do realize I forgot to turn off auto goalie rotation. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick before we jump into game 5, which is the first game that we will be able to play if we need to. Like I said, we are allowed to jump in the last 5 minutes of regulation, or the last 5 minutes of regulation and any overtime after game 4. Did I miss it? No, it's right here. I don't know why it's not right underneath edit lines. But I also realize, and I'm going to do this now, I forgot to adjust. I forgot to make that change that I had talked about and switch out Ehlers for Connor. So now we got Connor, Scheifele, Wheeler as our top line. Dubois, Ehlers, Strome as our second. Then Kopp, Stasny, Puljujarvi. So that I'm a little bit more comfortable with. I'm also thinking If we lose this game, I might just put Piank and Morrissey on the top pairing instead of Schmidt, just to give us the best possible players on the ice most of the time. But anyway, jumping into Game 5. After the first period, Winnipeg is actually up 3-0. Kop Puljujarvi and Blake Wheeler are scoring off the power play. Almost all 3 goals from the exact same spot. After the second, Nashville gets one back shorthanded. They have 16 shots so far, and they get another one right there. Benning snipes it, and they have a power play. And they tie this one up, Mikael Granlund. So this team has come roaring all the way back. Winnipeg can't convert on the power play. This is a brand new game here with 10 minutes left in the third period. And it looks like we are going to be jumping in here with 5 minutes left to go in the third. Nashville has come back from down 3-0 to tie this one up at 3-3. All right, here we are in Bridgestone Arena in Nashville with only 5 minutes left to go in this game, and Nashville wins off the draw, but a big hit right there. Duchesne bringing it up, and he's looking, but he can't find anybody. He gets the cross pass, but it is picked off by Piank, who is going to carry it in for the Jets. Looking for somebody kind of crossing over. Puck goes astray right there, but Ehlers ends up with it in front. Takes a shot. Dubois had it for just a second, but couldn't get anything going. Strome has it now going back out to Schmidt. Goes to Ehlers. Ehlers fires right into the chest of Saros. He's going to hold on to that one and freeze it for another face-off. I'm try and skip over this. Going to be JT Miller versus Mark Scheifele here as Edmonton. As Winnipeg has their top line off. And they win the face-off. Now Piank tries to fire a shot underneath, ends up in the hands of Roman Josi, and so Nashville now has possession as Josi brings it up, meets with Scheifele, tie up. Scheifele's got a little bit of space. He is going to try and fire the cross, and it goes right into the goalie. And now in the corner, now Connor's got it. Connor trying to cross in and make a shot, but he is body checked and ends up losing the puck. Now Sisson's got it, giving it up to Forsberg, who is taking it up the side of the ice, and he loses the puck. Now Schmidt with it goes to Piank, up to Kyle Connor, and he carries it into the corner. Now looks for somebody crossing, but ends up going a little bit too far. Now big hit by Schmidt coming across, and Winnipeg's got it once again. Wheeler coming in. Wheeler stopping, looking, tried to find Strome, but he couldn't quite corral it with traffic in the way. And now Nashville dumping it in. Piank ends up with this one, and it is intercepted. Now trying to fight for the puck again. Miller's got it in the corner. Miller comes away with it. Getting it out to Roman Josi. Getting it to Forsberg. Checked by Morrissey. Morrissey's got space. Morrissey has space going left side, and he buries this one. The breakaway goal by the defenseman, Josh Morrissey, as he gets the takeaway and brings it all the way to the other end and beats Jussi Saros 1-on-1, giving Edmonton their first goal after letting go 3 unanswered. He just had the speed to beat out the last defender for Nashville, makes a simple move, ends up burying the puck. Not anything too fancy right there, but it gets the job done. And so the momentum has shifted a little bit here with just 3 minutes left in this game, as the Jets also win the faceoff. Morrissey with the puck once again, gets it up to Ehlers, ends up in the hands of Dubois, but is picked off by Tolvanen. Tolvanen stopping, backtracking a little bit, looking for Josi, finds Josi out to Granlund, who has space now of his own. Dylan blocks the shot. Pierre-Luc Dubois ends up coming up with it. Dylan up to Ryan Strome. Strome is looking, fires it into the side, out to Morrissey, tried to go down to Ehlers. Strome has it, shoots, ends up in the corner. Ehlers now trying to get the pass away, but Kunin is there for the pickoff for Nashville, and he brings it in, and it is checked away by Brendan Dillon. Ends up in the hands of Granlund. Ehlers with it. Scheifele now carrying it up, passes center ice, and he's going to take a quick wrister. Tried to look for the rebound right there, but not quite a hard enough shot to get one. As you can see, that Mark Scheifele may be perhaps surprisingly in the top 10 in the league for hits, as both teams' top lines are out right now. And Winnipeg again with the face-off win, although they immediately give the puck up on the errant pass right there. So Nashville has it, carrying it into Winnipeg's zone. Some traffic up in the front of the net. Hellebuck has the puck, and he is going to hold on to it for the save. and didn't want to risk anything right there. Going to play it safe with the 1-goal lead. 2:10 left in this game. Third line coming out for for Winnipeg, you got Kopp, Stasny, and Puljujärvi versus Granlund, Kunin, Tolvanen. And Nashville ends up winning this faceoff. Tolvanen in the corner, big hit by Piank. Puljujärvi's got it, and he gets it out to Nate Schmidt, who is going to try and carry this one in. Looking for somebody crossing, finds Kopp, back to Schmidt. Trying to find Stasny, but it is picked off through traffic, and now Nashville will carry it back up the ice. Trying to find anybody, ends up dumping it in. Piank picks it up, going over to Stasny with the bank pass. Kopp's got it. Kopp tried to get rid of it, but it was taken away before he could do so. Now Kunin backtracking into his own zone. Now turns around, heads into Winnipeg's. Looking for somebody. Goes back out to the point for Ekholm. Tyler Myers with it now, trying to make some moves. Kopp ends up picking it up, and Kopp has the speed. He gets away, goes around, tried to bury it, couldn't find anybody. Tried to get it to Puljujärvi, but he could not corral it, and so Kunin's got it now against the boards. Schmidt looked for somebody crossing, but smartly played by Nashville right there, as now Winnipeg will have to backtrack. Stasny carries it in, and Stasny just going to take a quick shot, looking for the rebound, and Ekholm was there in front of it. Kopp had a chance. Now Stasny with a chance, and Kopp with another chance. Couldn't quite pick it up. 1 minute left in this game. Schmidt against the boards with Kunin. Miller carrying it in. Forsberg's got it. Just under a minute left. Kunin, they're pulling the goalie. Hellebuck freezes this one. Nashville will have a face-off in Winnipeg's defensive zone. An empty net for Nashville as they are down 1 goal with just under a minute left and looking to make something happen here. And Winnipeg wins off the draw and gets it up to Kyle Connor. Connor's going to try and carry it in, gets checked, but there's nobody over there to corral the puck, and he is going to put the empty netter in the back of the net. Didn't want to take the shot from the neutral zone, but once he carried it in, ends up putting it in the back of the net, and this is going to secure Winnipeg's victory in Game 5, a crucial game in this series, as I cannot skip the presentation for some reason. I don't really know why we need to show all this celebration for an empty netter, but that is going to put this game away, most likely anyway, out of reach for Nashville, as Winnipeg wins yet another face-off, showing their dominance in the physical aspect of this game, as Nashville's pulling their goalie again, but this is going to be ruled offside, so it's going to lead to another neutral zone face-off. And Nashville wins this draw. 6 attackers for Nashville. And hard slap shot taken, but right in the chest of Hellebuck. He has it out to DeMilo. Ehlers carries it in and just dumps it back. Looking for Strome. Strome's got it, checks it away, and he ran straight into the net, so he couldn't quite add another empty netter. Pierre-Luc Dubois got it, and that is deflected. Strome's got it, going to shoot, and he misses the net as well. DeMilo's got it. He tried to shoot, but he didn't have the puck. Miller checks it in, and that is going to finally put away this game for Winnipeg, coming out on top with a 5-3 victory. Third star, Josh Morrissey, had what ended up being the game-winning goal on the breakaway. Just goes around UC Saros with the simple move and ends up putting it in the back of the net. Second star, Blake Wheeler, he had a goal and an assist as well as 2 pretty big hits in this one, like this right here, although that didn't end up really doing anything. First star, though, is Luke Kunin, as this is a home game. All right, we're going to back out of this, and now Winnipeg can celebrate having a 3-2 lead. They got 2 chances to put this one away, and the first one will come at home in, I don't actually know what Winnipeg's arena is called anymore. The Canada Life Center. All right. In one of the worst 2-3 matchups maybe ever. With a team that had 42 wins and a team that had 44. Oh, I guess 44 is not bad if it would be a 3 seed. After 1, Winnipeg is up 2-1. Stasny and Connor, who finally finds the back of the net without it being empty. And then Roman Josi has one for Nashville. 5-2 after the second period, despite only 14 shots. Just sniping them in, man, from the point. Scheifele, Dillon, and Morrissey. And then JT Miller had one for Nashville from right out in front. We're going to take this slow, though. Nashville starts things off early with a goal. And then they get another one right away, and they have tied this game up already. It has not even been 2 minutes. I think they buried 3 straight shots. What is going on with the goalies in this series? What a weird game to finish this series off potentially. We got 5-5 as the score. With 5 minutes left, we are going to be jumping in one more time to try and finish off the Nashville Predators. All right, 5 minutes left in this game, and the first face-off win in this period, or in this last 5 minutes, goes to Nashville. Hellebuck stops the shot right there. Morrissey's got it now out to Wheeler, and tried to go too far across, and Nashville ends up keeping it. Cousins up now, trying to make some moves, but there's enough Winnipeg defenders there. Blake Wheeler trying to carry it in, looking for anybody trailing, and that pass is intercepted by Cousins. He is going to carry it in, so some jitters still for Winnipeg after allowing Nashville to get back in this game despite a 3-goal lead at the start of the third. This puck is errant, and Myers had it for a second. There's nobody moving to the puck, though. Chris Tierney with it now, and this shot is blocked. Scheifele picks it up, and he gets it out to Wheeler. Wheeler tries to go across and ends up getting the puck taken away. Just too many guys right there. Marleau, big hit by Dylan. Connor gets hit, and this one is saved by Josh Morrissey. Getting it out to Dylan. Bank pass back to Wheeler, and Wheeler gets rocked. Scheifele brings it in now. Scheifele, looking for anything, stops, turns, fires, and it is saved by Rittich, who is in the game for Nashville due to Yusei Saros giving up 5 goals early in this one. You got Strome and Miller on the ice for this face-off in Nashville zone, and won by Winnipeg. Piank going to try and get that one down to Dubois, and just not quite strong enough to find the back of the net right there. And so Nashville ends up with this puck and getting it over to JT Miller. Dubois almost had the hit. Forsberg with a good shot right there. Good chance, but can't avert. Strome carries it up for the Jets, and big body check right there. Yossi ends up with the puck. Dante Fabro, excuse me. I'm confused with Robbie Fabry for a second. Forsberg gets rid of it. Schmidt ends up with it. Schmidt carrying it in now and looking for somebody. Can't find anyone. He's going to take the shot himself. Looked for the rebound, but he couldn't quite corral it. Now Piank carrying it in and tried to look for the rebound. Dubois was almost there, but Nashville ends up with the puck. 2:55 left here in the third period. Nashville trying to get something going on offense. Yossi passes it over to Dante Fabro, trying to carry it in. Traffic in front of the net. And for some reason, it made me move away from the corner, even though I was heading over there the entire time. Hellebuck ends up saving that one, though. Piank now up to Ehlers. Ehlers through the body check. Crosses, goes to Strome, and he finds the back of the net on the breakaway as Winnipeg has broken the tie here in the third period with Ryan Strome's 4th goal of the playoffs. Watch the replay right here. As Ehlers comes up, he's looking for somebody, finds Strome, gets the quick snapshot, goes off the goalie for just a second, but ends up in the back of the net. And this, again, a late goal by Winnipeg might be the difference maker right here, as Kopp loses this faceoff. Yossi gets checked by Puljujarvi, and it heads all the way back to the goalie Saros, who's back in the game now, it looks like. Looks like they switched goalies at some point, but he's going to cover that one up, as Nashville seems to be falling apart at this point. Kopp versus Granlund now for the Predators, and this one's poked away. Good shot, but taken away by Yossi, who's now against the boards. And Tolvanen carries it out of the zone for Nashville. All right, sorry about that. Carry it in now. Morrissey with the check, and Stasny ends up taking it away. Now Stasny gets checked. Fabro with it. Tolvanen now, once again. Morrissey's on him. Passes up to Granlund. Covered by Dylan. Dylan blocks the shot. Morrissey now in the corner with Tolvanen. Ends up coming away with it. Dylan looked for Wheeler, but he airmailed him right there. And Nashville's going to have it back in their own zone. Now Granlund struggles for a second, but he's blown away by Dylan, but then they miss Dylan on the pass, and so this is going to be heading back into Winnipeg's zone. It's going to be Kopp versus Granlund for this one. And it's won by Kopp, who gets it back to Dylan, up to Wheeler, who is going to carry this one in. Stops, looks, tries to find Kopp, ends up in the hands of Morrissey. Morrissey saved by Saros, and he is going to fall on top of that, which will initiate another faceoff. Fourth line out for Winnipeg, trying to secure a win off of a 1-goal lead. Forsberg carrying it in as he's chased to the corner, looking for somebody. Can't find anybody, and he finds the back of the net, and this is a tied game once again in Winnipeg, as Nashville has shown they are not quite out of this one yet. No real defensive pressure right there, as he was just able to walk right into the slot and bury that one. And this is not a game that these goalies are going to want to remember for very long, and I don't know what's going on with the presentation that it's taking so long. But this is a whole new game now with just a minute left. Something's wrong with my controller, I think. I don't know what is happening. Dubois pokes it away, and it's all the way down now in Winnipeg's zone. Strome ends up with it. Now Piank's got it. Out to Schmidt. Bank pass for Ehlers. Ehlers tried to fire it in. Dubois ends up with it, but it is right into the chest of Saros, who covers it up. Scheifele and Granlund out for the faceoff. As this one's won by Granlund. Back to Tyler Myers. Poked away briefly, but Myers ends up picking it back up. And this one is not carried correctly. Kunin had it. Scheifele had it for a second, or thought he had it anyway. Now Scheifele ends up with it again, and he is going to carry it in. Tried to go for the pass, but tough defensive pressure right there. Wheeler now looking for Scheifele, who had a good shot, but he ended up putting it between the legs. If he had had it over the goalie's shoulder, that probably would have been the tiebreaker right there. Tough miss right there. And that'll bring out Winnipeg's third line. And Kopp wins the faceoff. Back to Piank. He takes a shot, looking off the rebound, and Stasny was there, but there's no rebound to be had as that one's covered up by Saros, and that'll initiate yet another faceoff. And this faceoff's won by Nashville, who has it out to Sissons. And this one's picked off by Puljujärvi. Couldn't get a shot off, but he does end up picking up the puck and tried to find the Jet on the other side of the net. Kopp's got it. Kopp had it for a brief second, but he couldn't corral it. Now Forsberg looking for something, and Stasny's up there with some tough defensive pressure. Myers checked off by Puljujärvi. Miller had it for a second. He gets it up to Forsberg, and then back to Miller, and Hellebuck is going to freeze this one with 9.7 seconds left. This game looks like it is going to be going into overtime. Off the tie-up, Ehlers got it, and he probably has one good shot at a shot right here. And he's going to try and go cross-ice. Dubois had a chance, but might have just been a better idea to try and shoot it from far away and hope Dubois was there for the rebound. As Winnipeg and Nashville in Game 6 are going into overtime, shots are even. 47 face-off wins for Nashville, 38 for Winnipeg. This has been a back-and-forth game, and we'll see who ends up coming out on top. And Winnipeg didn't win the draw, but they end up with it briefly. Nashville's got it again now. Sissons carrying it in. Forsberg checked off by Schmidt. And Wheeler's got it now up to Kyle Connor, who's going to carry this one in. Looking for somebody. Finds Scheifele crossing, but he didn't get a good opportunity at a shot. As this one's going to go back to Wheeler. Wheeler's carrying it in. Tried to go back out to Scheifele, over to Wheeler. Misses the net. And this one's in the hand of Colton Sissons as he goes cross-ice to Josi. Wheeler coming in hot, but just missed him. And Josi now looking for something. Piank ends up with the check away, and he's going to try and carry it in. Ends up in the hands of Nate Schmidt, and went for Scheifele briefly. Looked like it might be offsides. Scheifele stops, turns, looks for somebody, and Wheeler had it for just a second, but he couldn't get the shot off. As Wheeler back in the corner, Fabro ends up picking it up. Sissons now with it. And Sissons chased off, but gets it out to Dante Fabro in time now. JT Miller carrying it in. And he airmailed that pass. Ehlers couldn't quite pick it up. He would have probably had a breakaway if not for that. Forsberg with it in front of the net. Off the rebound, Scheifele ends up picking it up. And Winnipeg avoids disaster right there, as that could have been really bad. Now Scheifele carrying it in, goes for the wrister off the rebound and misses the net completely. Now Piank trying to get a shot in, and Saros is going to cover this one up with Ehlers right in front of the net. And this will be a face-off in Nashville zone. Strome and Granlund out there for the face-offs for their teams. And this is won by Nashville. Dillon's going to take a shot, and that one is blocked. Strome tried to go backhand with a wrister. Dubois ends up with it. Dubois trying to look for something. Tried to go off to the side, but it is taken away by Roman Josi. Now Mikael Granlund carrying it in. And he's got a couple defensemen on him. He's going to go back to the corner, looking for somebody crossing. Tolvanen had it off the rebound. There's nobody there for Nashville. Winnipeg ends up with it. Dubois, big hit. Strome now carries it in. Strome goes over to Ehlers, and he could not find the back of the net. And now Roman Josi has it for the Nashville Predators. Kunin carrying it up. Checked away by Morrissey, and he's still got it, and that shot is wide of the net. Puljujärvi's got it, and he missed the pass. I don't know who he was exactly going for, but nobody was there. Strome fighting for it. Strome fighting for it, still with Tyler Myers, and Tyler Myers comes away with it. Now Granlund got around the defense, but couldn't quite convert, and going over to Stasny, who ends up not finding Strome again. And this one's going back. Dillon with a big hit. Morrissey's still got it. Gets it up to Stasny, who carries it in. Looks for the trailing Cop, who is going to fire one on. Can't quite find anybody. Looking for Stasny again. Stasny, Cop's got it. Stasny off the rebound. Can't find the puck. Myers has it. Puljujärvi's... And this one's in the hands of Rocco Grimaldi. Mikael Granlund with it again. Checked by Morrissey. And Stasny is going to be ruled offside as he just jumped the puck a little bit too quick on that one. And Winnipeg is getting a little tired here, it looks like, with some of their lines struggling to keep up. They weren't expecting to have to play overtime after the way that the end of that third period was looking to play out. Dillon now with a chance on a crosser goes to Cop and can't find it. He had a shot, but couldn't bury it. Now going back out to the point, out to Morrissey. Morrissey's got a shot here in the slot, and the wrister will not convert. Now, Stasny airmailed the pass going across. And Piank against Johansson. Johansson misses the net. Riley Nash picks it up. Piank's got it, fighting for it. Still got it. Now Riley Nash carries it in. Tried to go left to avoid the defender, but Benning ends up picking it up. And Morrissey whiffed on the hit right there. And this one is still up for grabs. Morrissey picks it up, though. And he is going to carry this one in. And big hit right there, but he still got the puck. On the shot, rebound went the other way that I think that he expected. Puck's up in the air now off a Cop. And Riley Nash goes to Stasny, tried to bury it, but it ends up in between the legs of Saros, and he will fall on that one. As Winnipeg is going to try and get their top lines back out there. With Scheifele then to take the face-off against JT Miller. And I think that this team probably expected to have a little bit easier of a time against Nashville. And they lose another face-off right there. But they are being dominated up front, despite being one of the best 4 center-deep face-off lineups. Not to mention some of their wingers being former centers in the league. They are getting out-muscled on these face-offs. Connor with it now, goes to Scheifele. That one's taken away. And Scheifele ends up with it once again. Now Wheeler tried to cut across. Connor's got it. Briefly, there's nobody down low to get it. Scheifele's got it again. Passes out to Wheeler to the point. And Schmidt's got it. Gets around his man. Goes over. Can't find it. Connor had a shot. Wheeler's got it again. And this one is gloved by Saros. Winnipeg has been dominant offensively in this overtime period. We'll see if Nashville is able to shut them down. And I continue to have controller issues because I don't know why it's doing that. Piank with a big check on Sissons right there. Chases him back. He ends up with it. Miller crossing. Finds Forsberg off the backhand. There was a wide open net on the rebound, but nobody was there for Nashville. Now Scheifele carrying it in, trying to work his way around his defender, fake him out, finds Connor briefly. Scheifele's got it in. He finds the back of the net, and Scheifele got the pass off to Connor, got the shot, rebound. Scheifele finds the back of the net, and Winnipeg is going to be moving on to the second round of the playoffs after a very defensive start to this series. It ends up being the offense that prevails in the end. Winnipeg dominant in the overtime period, and that ends up being the difference maker after letting Nashville get back on the board late. And so this is going to be a big win for Winnipeg. Big loss for Nashville. After getting back into it late, they just weren't able to generate any offense in the overtime period. The way Winnipeg was playing, it was only a matter of time before they evened it back up. We're going to jump ahead, and we are going to look at who we're playing in the second round now. All right, with the current round of the playoffs over, we're going to go ahead and stop the simulation, as we are going to be taking on the Colorado Avalanche, because despite being a 3 seed in the Central Division, both of the other teams were upset since we beat the 2 seed, and Chicago got swept by Colorado. So now we have to face one of the scariest teams in this entire game. The West Finals, Final Four, are Winnipeg, Colorado, Los Angeles, and Dallas, as Dallas upset the Ducks in the first round 4-2, and LA denies the Kraken their first playoff series win. Carolina beat New Jersey in 7, Washington swept Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay 4-1 over Boston, and Philadelphia with the 4-1 upset over Montreal. And so a interesting Final Four is you got Carolina, Washington, and Tampa Bay, Philadelphia on the east side. So an interesting group of teams, maybe not one that you necessarily expected. But Winnipeg will end up with a home ice advantage in this playoff series. All right, we are back. I had to reload the game. Luckily, it did just autosave recently when we finished the first round. So I don't know. I guess I haven't talked about who's in the second round or not yet. So I guess if there's anybody different, we'll find out. But we're looking at the Colorado Avalanche lineup, and they have a very interesting setup for their team. So Nathan MacKinnon is on the top line with Bobby Ryan and JT Compher. And then the second line is Tyson Jost, Gabriel Landeskog, and Mikko Rantanen. Third line, Newhook, Mikhail Maltsev, and Jason Menga. And then their fourth line has Kaut and Sherwood. And then on the left wing is a 59 overall Valtteri Putsinen. I don't know what's going on with that, why he's here. Let's see what he did in the regular season. One goal, -2. You know what? Seen worse guys. And he has 2 goals in the playoffs so far. So, this game's amazing. But anyway, interestingly, I don't know if this is because of the roster. It shouldn't be, because he played several games last year. But this team doesn't have Bowen Byram. I checked the Colorado AHL team, the Eagles, and he's also not on their team. And injuries are off, so I have no idea what's going on with that. It might just be a peculiarity with this roster. But Sam Girard, Cale Makar, top pairing. Nikita Zaitsev and Devon Taves are their second pair. And then they got Michael Del Zotto and Curtis McDermott on the bottom pair. And then, of course, in net, Darcy Kemper, backed by Pavel Francouz. So it should be an interesting series. They have a lot more top-end talent than we do, or I should say their top-end talent is much better, but it's not really paired up right now. So it'll be interesting to see if they play a factor in this next upcoming series. Well, actually, I guess I don't even know if we're playing Colorado. Oh, yeah, they already won. So, okay. So, with that said, let's check out the other series. Actually, all of them are exactly the same as the last. Okay, they're all exactly the same. No. So Seattle ended up beating LA instead of LA advancing. All right, game 1 underway in Winnipeg. Colorado's going to be on the road to start out this series. A 5-3 in the second round. After 1 period, it is a tie game 1-1. After 2, Colorado with an explosive period. They take a 4-1 lead. Gabriel Landeskog nets 2 and Newhook 1 on the power play. We'll see if Winnipeg can respond in the period. They got a power play to start things off, a 5-on-3 even, and they do not convert. Colorado gets a power play. They also don't convert. Another power play. And unless Winnipeg can get something going quick, it looks like game 1 is going to go the Avalanche way. And that is going to be the story in this one. A great second period, and Darcy Kemper only lets 1 through. Colorado with a big opening game win in this second round series. as Winnipeg only finds the back of the net once and gives up 4 to Colorado. We'll see if they can respond in Game 2 and at least make it 1-1 heading on the road in one of the tougher arenas to win in. After 1, it's 1-0 Colorado. After 2, it's still 1-0 Colorado. We'll see if Winnipeg can get any offense going here in the third period. Power play, long power play. They do not convert. About halfway through the third period, still 1-0. And Mikko Rantanen makes it an even tougher road for Winnipeg to come back, as Hellebuyck has played a lot better in this game. All right, Copp gets one late. It's still a one goal game. We'll see if Winnipeg can get one late power play, but they can't convert. And so this is a 2-0 series deficit now going on the road after dropping both of their home games to open this series up. And I think it's time to consider a line change. Whoops. I think it's time to consider a line change. Back out, please. God damn. Taking a look at our offensive production so far during the playoffs. Looks like our top pairing is just not really cutting it. They're actually minus at even strength. Scheifele and Wheeler have 6 points. Kyle Connor has 1. Strome and Copp's on the third pairing, and he's producing. Dubois is not doing anything, and Ehlers really isn't either. So let's drop them down to the third line. We'll keep the power play the same, but let's see if we move up Copp. Give Copp and Puljujarvi some more ice time and see if that helps out at all. Yeah, Strome's been playing well. I want to keep him there. So we'll move Dubois down. He can center this line. And then Copp can swap out with Ehlers. And so Ehlers will be the second line winger. I don't know why I had him playing on the left if he's listed as a right winger. I don't really even know if it matters if you play them at their listed position. Yeah, so let's try that and see if that stirs up any more offense. Because that's where we've really been struggling. We played decent defensively. We only gave up 2 goals last game. The first game was a little rough, but I want to see if that generates any sort of inspiration. I don't think the top line's been awful. They just haven't played as well as I would hope they would. So we're going on the road to Colorado for Game 3. Colorado has yet to lose a game in this playoffs, despite being the lowest seed in the division. After 1-1 game, Nate Schmidt finds the back of the net at the end of the first. After 2, Colorado's up 2-1. We'll see if Winnipeg can tie this game up, as not really a huge offensive game. Both goalies are really holding strong so far. Winnipeg with a power play, can't convert. 7 minutes left. All right, tied up. Andrew Copp finds the back of the net from the corner, and this is a tie game now, with Winnipeg holding a shot advantage. And Ehlers buries one late, and that ends up being the difference maker. So the line change does inspire offense in a really indirect way by Ehlers getting demoted to the third line. He finds the back of the net at even strength. 3-2 win and a big comeback. We'll see if they can take both road games now as they avoid elimination, or avoid being one game away from elimination, I should say. Looking around the league, Dallas is up 2-1 on the Kraken, and Capitals up 2-1 on Carolina. Philadelphia up 2-1 on Tampa Bay. So a lot of competitive series so far here in the second round. I guess they renamed the Pepsi Center, playing in the Ball Arena now. After 1, Winnipeg up 1-0, Scheifele finding the net. Colorado comes back 3 goals in the second, but Kyle Connor makes it a 3-2 game, still in Colorado's favor, but puts Winnipeg a little bit closer, makes the third period a little bit easier. They get a power play and tie up the game. Power play goal for Mark Scheifele. 3-3 game here with 10 minutes left in regulation. 8-7-6. And Winnipeg, again, outshooting Colorado by a pretty margin. But this one is going to be decided in overtime. As it's only Game 4, we still cannot jump in yet by the ground rules that were set. And Colorado takes it in overtime, and they have a 3-1 series lead. They have 3 chances to close this one out. And that's not a situation that you want to be in as a Winnipeg fan or even as the team itself. Save real quick. Well, I remember to. Whoops. Forgot it's not the... I don't know. I know it's different dev teams, but they should really standardize some of these EA things. Like, if the right stick saves in one game, it should save in other games. These game modes are the same. All right, anyway. Heading into Game 5 at home, Winnipeg after 1. They're up 1-0. Puljujärvi finding the back of the net. And then after 2, they did score 2 more, but Colorado's come roaring back. They come close to tying it up. They get 2 goals back. And Winnipeg adds 1 more. Kopp finds the back of the net from the circle with about 5 minutes into the third period, I should say. Colorado has a power play, long power play, 5-on-3 power play, back to 5-on-4. Good play for Winnipeg right there, killing off a long penalty. And if they can hold on just a couple more minutes, Kyle Connor adds the empty netter just for security, and Winnipeg comes away with a 5-2 victory in Game 4. That's a huge win right there, and we'll see if they can carry some of the momentum back on the road. We'll see if anybody's been eliminated yet, and it looks like the Capitals are advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. Philadelphia has a chance to close out Tampa Bay. Seattle with a chance to close out Dallas. So if Winnipeg comes back in this series, it would be interesting because in the Vegas Golden Knights inaugural season, the team that they played in the Western Conference Finals was the Winnipeg Jets. So if Seattle makes it to the Western Conference Finals and Winnipeg makes it, it'll be the second time this decade, or I guess this century, because Seattle debuted after a new decade, but it'll be the second time this century, or since the Jets moved back to Winnipeg from Atlanta, that they played an expansion team in the Western Conference Final in what would be their only 2 appearances. But let's not get ahead of ourselves too much, as we still got to win 2 games, one of which has to happen on the road in this game right here in order to call the series ours. After 1, big offensive first period, but no goals scored. After 2, tightened up a little bit, but Nathan MacKinnon is the only one to find the back of the net for Colorado. And Newhook opens up scoring in the third period very early. And this is not looking good if you're Winnipeg to not even have 1 goal over 50 minutes into the game. Colorado with another power play. And just over 5 minutes left. We're going to jump into this one and see if we can even the margin. It's going to be a tough uphill battle. 5 minutes left in the third period. Winnipeg on the road. They are trying to stave off elimination for 1 more game. Colorado trying to continue their Cinderella run. Josh Morrissey with the puck for Winnipeg. Ryan Strome carries it in and gets it up to Puljujärvi, gets a shot off, but it is corralled away. Now a shot by Kopp, and this one misses the net completely. Recovered by Brendan Dillon. He's going to take a shot off a rebound in the air and recovered on the side of the boards by Morrissey, but nobody there to pass it to. Rantanen takes it away, and he is going to skate around in his own zone. Now finds Gabriel Landeskog, who is going to dump this one in. Morrissey with the recovery, gets it out to Strome, and just a little too hot on that pass. Can't find Kopp, and Colorado ends up coming away with it. Now in the corner, Strome ends up with the puck. Morrissey finding Puljujärvi, carrying it in. Keep looking. Finds Strome. Strome shoots, taken away by Tyson Jost, and he is carrying it in. And tied up right there from behind. Finds Rantanen over the middle, and Hellebuck ends up saving it, dumps it back out. Dillon recovers, gets it out to Kopp, who gets the puck taken away as he was trying to pass it. Luckily, Brendan Dillon comes from behind and ends up being able to take it away. Now Strome carrying it in, looking for something, going to fire. Tried to go for the rebound, but it ended up getting stuck between the goalie's knees. And so that is going to be frozen by Darcy Kemper. Face-off in Colorado's zone. MacKinnon versus Scheifele. And this one's won by MacKinnon. Samuel Girard with it. Scheifele trips him up a little bit. Takes it away for just a second, but MacKinnon ends up with it. Finds Bobby Ryan. Taken away by Wheeler. Finds Kyle Connor. Shooting at the net and missed the net. Scheifele ends up with it. Now he finds Blake Wheeler with a wrister, and that is poked away by Kemper. Now Wheeler again. Cutting in. Takes a shot and finds the back of the net just from the slot. And so this is a 2-1 game now. Still in Colorado's favor. With only 3:44 left, not a lot of time for Winnipeg to find 1 more goal, but we'll see if they can pull it off. I don't know why the presentation is so much longer now. Do they like update the game or something? I can't skip through anything anymore. Top line's still out there for both of these teams. Colorado wins the faceoff. Bobby Ryan carrying it in. Huge check by Neil Piank. And tried to get it up to Wheeler. Stuttered for just a second. And now he's going to find Kyle Connor, and he couldn't find the back of the net with that shot. Got close, but he just couldn't quite get it. And now a couple dekes being made. Ends up turning over the puck now. Scheifele tried to go to the left, but ends up firing it just rampantly down the ice because the passing in this game is really bad. But that's all right. Face-off in Winnipeg zone. McKinnon and Scheifele once again. Seeing a lot of these guys late trying to close this one out for Colorado, but also for Winnipeg trying to come back. And they have an open Kyle Connor up the ice, cuts across, can't get the shot off as it's poked away by Darcy Kemper. But Scheifele picking it off and tries to go cross ice. And Bobby Ryan's going to be the one who ends up with it. Blake Wheeler with a poke check, but it got out to Comfer first. Comfer being chased down. McKinnon in the slot, gloved by Hellebuck. Back out to Piank. Almost got destroyed right there. Blake Wheeler now carrying it in. He's going to take a shot off for the rebound. Kyle Connor ends up picking it up and tried to go back to Wheeler. Wheeler ends up with it for just a second. Fight in front for the puck. Connor's got it. Looking for something. He's going to go back out to the point. Brendan Dillon had it. Josh Morrissey going to take a slapper, and that is right into the chest of Kemper. Going to glove it and use that one. So that'll be another face-off in Colorado's zone. But so far in this late third period, Winnipeg is kind of dictating things offensively now. They got Pierre-Luc Dubois, Paul Stasny, and Nikolai Ehlers out there. Morrissey going to take another slapper, and he loses his stick right there. Can't recover the puck. And now Tyson Jost has it. Carrying it in, poked away by Stasny. Brendan Dillon ends up with it. Pierre-Luc Dubois now going to carry it in for Winnipeg. Stops. Looks down low. Stasny had it with the backhander for just a second, but it is recovered by Maltsev after the block. Now going back down the ice, Winnipeg. Brendan Dillon has it. Just a moment now, Nikolai Ehlers carrying in. He's going to take a shot. Fires. Almost hit Dubois right in the face. Nikita Zaitsev picks it back up. Alex Newhook is absolutely wrecked by Paul Stasny. He's looking for something. Tried to go to Dubois, but it goes off Maltsev. Maltsev checked from behind by Dubois. Alex Newhook now carrying it in. He gets past Morrissey. Dillon got in the way of it, but he still got the shot off, just not good enough. And this one goes back down into Colorado's zone, and they don't call icing, and now they do. So this face-off will take place in Winnipeg's defensive zone. Newhook and Strome facing off against each other. Hellebuck's played a great game, only letting 2 goals in the back of the net, but it might not be enough, as Winnipeg still needs to score at least one just to tie this thing up. Kopp coming in. Now he tries to fire a pass across, and it's just not quite there. Menga getting checked by Schmidt, but holds on to the puck. And now Kopp coming from behind ends up poking it away. Menga coming in now, and poke checked one more time by Brendan Dillon, who's finding Ehlers. Tries to go up to Strome, ends up finding the hands of Nate Schmidt. Strome coming in, fires one toward the net. Devon Taves ends up taking this one up. 1 minute left for Winnipeg. And Brendan Dillon with a big body check right there. And Winnipeg is going to opt to go for the extra attacker right here. Strome with it now. Coming in. And he's checked. Big hit right there. And that is... looks like going to be a penalty on Devon Taves. And so the Avalanche will have an extra attacker and an extra man advantage here in this late third period. Empty goal. Strome out for the faceoff. And it's won by Colorado. Winnipeg's got it. Wheeler for a second. Tried to get a shot in. Curtis McDermott with it. And he fires it back down to the other end. Jesse Puljujarvi goes for it. And he is going to try and get it up. Josh Morrissey's got it right now. Up to Pierre-Luc Dubois. Stops. Looking for somebody. Josh Morrissey going to carry it in for just a second. Gets a slap shot off. Strome ends up with it. Strome going to take a shot. And off the rebound, they can't quite corral. And just 24 seconds left here. Looks like Winnipeg's really only got about one more chance to tie this thing up. Blake Wheeler going across to Morrissey, up to Strome. Strome's going to look for the guy crossing, finds Dubois, can't bury it. Wheeler misses it. Stasny, and he turns the puck over, and that is going to be the end of this one, as it's going to be out of reach for Winnipeg to get back in the zone in time, and Colorado closes out this series at home, and Winnipeg falls in the second round as the Cinderella run kind of continues. It's weird to say that about Colorado, the team that was probably favored to win the Stanley Cup going into this season, but their Cinderella run continues, and Winnipeg is knocked out in the second round after a somewhat disappointing playoff run. Just didn't play up to their potential on offense, in my opinion. And this is going to now carry into the offseason. So with that said, we'll take a quick look at how we finished off the playoff run, and then next episode we're going to come back and dive into the offseason. I think what ultimately ended up being our undoing is just the fact that we really couldn't score offensively. Our top line played really well. They turned things around, especially at the end of that series. Ended up being plus players at even strength, or at least even in Kyle Connor's case. Schmidt had a decent offensive outing too. Kopp probably played better before that line change. Puljujarvi. Strome just couldn't find it in that round. Ehlers kind of turned it around. He had the goal. But just not the kind of production that we want out of your second line. Pierre-Luc Dubois especially only finishes with 2 points in the entire playoffs. Like, that's pretty disappointing. And then our bottom line and our bottom defensive pairing really killed us. They are all minuses except for somebody's missing here. So Gustafson, Lowry, and Riley Nash. Okay, I didn't see him at the time. But yeah, our bottom defensive pair is, well, DeMilo's even, but we'll use a -2, and then Riley Nash, Adam Lowry, and Gustafson are all minus players as well. So not what you want to see out of what should be a defensive line. But that is going to finish off this playoff run, and then we'll take a look also at Hellebuck. He had a really up and down playoffs, ends up finishing with only a .904 save percentage and a .326 goals against average. Not what you want to see out of one of the best goalies in the league. We'll see if he can bounce back next year. If not, then this team has a lot more questions than I had expected them to. But anyway, that is going to wrap up Season 1. We will see you guys in the offseason for the playoff recap and see who ends up coming away. I just want to see, actually, there's only one more game to play in the East. I want to see who wins it. And they're still, wow, they're like, okay, never mind. So, Tampa Bay ends up coming out over Philadelphia. So, it'll be Tampa Bay versus Washington, which is, funnily enough, also the two teams that played in the Eastern Conference Finals in the year that the Vegas Golden Knights played the Winnipeg Jets. So, 2018 almost came back with Seattle just playing Vegas's role as the expansion team. But Winnipeg just couldn't make it happen. But anyway, that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for more NHL 22 Canada Challenge, where we will be taking on Season 1 off-season with the Winnipeg Jets.